You have tuned in to Winging It, the podcast where we don't plan anything. I'm your host, No Plan Pete, and we have a guest today. I have no idea who they are. I've never met them before. We didn't plan anything. I'm sort of hoping that they have a topic for the podcast. I don't know. What do you want to talk about on this podcast?
Your favorite thing to make in the kitchen? No?
Oh, okay.
No, this isn't a chef's podcast.
My favorite thing to make in the kitchen is nothing, because I only can cook on the barbecue. Otherwise, my wife will get mad that I messed up the kitchen. What's your favorite thing to cook in the kitchen?
I like a good hearty salad. I know that seems kind of lame, but I think salads can be very sexy and interesting if you allow them to be.
They can be very sexy. That is true.
Exactly.
I'm not sure that's cooking, though. Is making a salad cooking? You see, this is a matter of definition.
It's assembling. It's assembling in a culinary way.
Yeah. Well, since this is Winging It, I'll say chicken wings, but that's a lie. I would make way too big a mess if I tried to make chicken wings.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. I'm coming over for dinner.
Okay. And when you get here, we can record the actual podcast, which is not about cooking, although I don't know, we can talk about cooking if you want. But this is, in fact, the Photography Friends podcast. I'm your photographer, Jared Poirier, and you are a photographer, hopefully.
I am a photographer. My name is Dana Castro, and I run a photography business called 3 Crown Studio.
You do indeed, and we are talking about planning today, and we did plan some stuff, so that's good. We planned an actual podcast for you guys, episode 90 of the Photography Friends podcast, and Dana and I have a great episode in store for you guys. We're going to be helping all of you photographers out there who are trying to plan photo shoots, and hopefully this episode on prep for photo shoots will be intriguing for you and help you in your life and photography and all of that. Hopefully that sounds fun. Does that sound fun?
I'm having fun already. So
okay.
Yes.
I'm having a great time. We aren't having any wine or anything. Not yet. It is 2 p.m. Try to plan these later and then we can drink wine. But
the other W, water.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah, that's good. Is it red or white water?
It is clear water with a splash of lemon.
Awesome.
So be kind of like a cocktail. There you go.
With a splash of lemon. That's pretty exciting. Yeah. I've got a, what is this? A chai tea with some vanilla almond milk or some shit in it.
That sounds amazing. It looks very good.
Yeah.
How prepared of you.
Yes, and speaking of being prepared, we're prepared for a podcast with a beautiful sponsor. Have you ever heard of CloudSpot, Dana?
I have, but tell me more.
You have? All right. Well, Dana, let me tell you something about CloudSpot. It's the easiest way for photographers to deliver and sell photos online. You probably knew that. You probably also knew that you can get beautiful downloads, or beautiful galleries, beautiful downloads too, that are hassle-free, that are simple for your clients, really make a wonderful experience for all of your photography clients. You probably knew all of those things, but what you maybe didn't know is that there's a link in the description for this very podcast, and you can save 50% off of CloudSpot. And we've actually had some listeners who have been using the link, have been signing up for CloudSpot. CloudSpot's a cool company. They tell me when people use the link to sign up, and people have been doing it. And I just want to tell you guys that I appreciate you. And if you want to be cool and rad and highly sexy like those people, then you're going to want to click that CloudSpot link. Get yourself some CloudSpot. All right, that's done. We can talk about what we're here to talk about. So before we get into that, Dana, why don't you just tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, the type of photography that you do, a little bit about 3 Crowns, all of that, who you work with. Just give us your life story in 30 seconds or less.
For sure. So yeah, I'm Dana and I run Three Crown Studio and we are a brand photography business. I say we, it's me. I have a couple of helpers, but the person behind the camera is me. And yeah, so I mostly work with women, lots of female entrepreneurs. I sometimes have the occasional sprinkle of a gentleman in there, but really my target audience is women in business, and that's who I serve and that's who I'd love to serve. And yeah, it just lights me up. So this is my fifth year in this business and
Nice.
always something to learn. So yeah, happy to be here.
That's a good time once you've been in business for a few years. I find that things kind of even out, and it's not so hectic after a while, right? Like you, a lot of things kind of fall into place for you, and you actually sleep at night.
Yeah, I just finally feeling that. I mean, year five, you
That's
kind of
good.
cross a threshold there
Yeah.
that feels a little bit like a sweet spot.
Yeah, and then you've already spent all of your photography money on gear, so then you actually have money to buy a more comfortable bed, and then you can actually sleep even better. So
I mean, do you ever run out of photography gear to buy? Because
definitely
I've always
not.
got something on my radar. Like,
No. I
it's always
definitely need
something.
to. I bought a gimbal recently, which I love, and I bought lights. Yeah, I upgraded my camera last year, and I'm looking into buying some microphones. And I don't know. Oftentimes, I think about buying a second camera, but again,
Ooh.
yeah,
So what do
there's.
you do now? Do you rent when you need a second device?
I
Like it only comes up every now and then?
Yeah, I rent or hassle like a friend of mine, invite someone on the podcast so then they owe me a favor so then I can hit them up. But don't worry, you're safe. You live too far away from me to ever bother you.
And we shoot on different I'm Nikon, so
Oh,
yeah.
that's fine. I can work my way around. Or yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I'm used to I know Canon and Sony and I'm sure I could figure out. I mean, ISO is ISO at the end of the day, right? So
It's
should be
true.
yeah,
It's
it should be
true.
fine. Yeah. So let's get into what we actually came here to talk about, which is preparing for a shoot, which is, we've worked together a little bit and I've seen kind of your process, but I'd love to learn more. I think that it can help the listeners and it can also help me. Like, I've been doing photography for a while, but just recently I've started to really get into doing like studio photography and stuff like that, and kind of a bit of a different animal. So yeah, let's walk through the process of how you plan out your photo shoots. Like, does it start with a like a pre-shoot call? Is that usually the first thing? Yeah,
Yes.
sweet.
Yeah, so usually I check people out first, and then we book the shoot, we choose a location. We usually go back and forth on that with email because that part, we can kind of lock down pretty quickly. And then it's planning time. So that's when I usually book a call in for them. And entrepreneurs are really busy, like my clients are, and they're not really keen on filling out a lot of forms. So if I were to send them an intake form or like, hey, answer all these brand questions for me about your business, I think they would find that really tedious. So
Mm.
we sort of cover all of that in a Zoom call together. Prior to that, obviously, I check out their website. I'm looking around to see what they're currently working with. Sometimes we're starting from scratch. Other times they're looking to fill in some gaps, but I check them out first. I do a little creep around and I see everything I can find on them before we have the call. So I'm prepared to ask the right types of questions because those questions change for each client depending on how I'm coming at it. So I asked them sort of a series of questions at the beginning that might be a little bit boring, but they're really important, which is sort of what type of clients do you like to attract, right? A lot of my subjects are service-based business owners. So we talk about their clients and who's coming to them. And if that's aspirational, then who would you like to attract? If you're not attracting the right clients now, who are the people that you do want to attract? And so I sort of just keep that on my list and I review it in the days upcoming to their shoot to make sure that I am coming across that because it's very different, right? It's if you're trying to if you're a multi-million-dollar real estate agent, you're trying to attract different type of client than say a makeup artist. So that's important when we're talking about the big picture of the shoot and the aesthetics and that sort of vibe that we're trying to do.
Yeah, nice.
And then yeah,
And
go
that's
ahead.
so like an hour long call, or how does that actually look in
It's
reality?
about 45 minutes to an
Okay.
hour. It's also a good icebreaker to them for them too, because some people are, get nervous before shoot time. So having the face to face to talk to me and get to know each other a little bit better also helps us ease in on shoot day where we sort of don't have to do all that that awkward beginning stuff and be like we can just sort of jump into it because we've already had the chat and we're sort of making this game plan together. So it's a team effort with myself and them to make
Nice.
it all come together the day of.
Yeah, so you're getting like a good sense of, what's the goal really for the photo shoot, like who they want to reach with those photos, who they want that to appeal to, but also like you're getting a sense for their personality, they're getting a sense for yours, and then on the actual day it becomes a lot easier to you find it becomes a lot easier to work with them, right?
Yeah, and I get to know like the ins and outs so that I don't have to worry about those small things on the day of. So
Yeah.
I don't want to be asking on the day of like who are you trying to attract? It's just like
Yeah.
it's too late at that point. And speaking, you said personality, and speaking of personality, that is one of the questions that I do ask them,
Mhm.
which I love this question. I'm giving away my secrets now. I don't know. I don't
That's okay.
know.
Not
Should
that many
I?
people listen to this podcast. It's fine.
One other thing is what's your biggest personality compliment? So not what do you like about yourself the
Oh,
most,
that's
but
cool.
what do you get complimented on the most?
That's cool.
And so that actually is a really revealing question for me because sometimes it's like, oh, people think I'm really serious, but I'm actually super funny and they're always surprised by that, right? And so those are good questions too for me to get to know them a little bit better and also bring out that personality side. So if I notice that during the shoot, hey, she mentioned this and I don't feel like that's coming out, I make sure that I kind of go in and try to bring that out of them on
Hmm.
the shoot day. Let's bring a little bit of that silliness out.
And for an example, what's the compliment that people give you a lot?
That actually is one of them, is that especially certain service-based businesses that people might view typically or might get grouped in a category of being a little bit stuffy. So that could be mortgage agents, that could be accountants. So industries that tend to be more buttoned up, a lot of those clients tend to tell me like, hey, most people are surprised because they thought, oh, she's going to be really one way, but I'm actually really down to earth and like really fun. And I don't, this is a serious subject, but we can have fun with this. Mortgages should be fun is actually one of my clients' taglines.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I get the same thing. Maybe that's like something that you need to have as a photographer is like the ability to like be serious and like take your job seriously, but then also like I don't know, part of our job is like being approachable, like I don't is disarming the right word? I'm not sure, like
Yeah.
something like that, right? Where yeah, people feel like at ease around us and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That they can let their guard down. That's the biggest one and feel
Yeah.
comfortable. I mean,
Totally,
I've
totally.
never felt uncomfortable like with another photographer, but I can imagine there might be some out there. I don't necessarily think uncomfortable would be the word. I just think not compatible, right?
Mhm.
Just not the right fit for you.
Yeah, yeah. And if you can't really get people at ease or like get their personality out on a shoot, then, that obviously comes through in the photos, like the camera doesn't lie in that way. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
the biggest compliment is for sure when someone sees their gallery after and they're like, "Oh, this really feels like me." That's the biggest compliment is
Yeah.
just like, "Yes, nailed it."
Yeah. Is there like a particular piece of direction that you often use to like get people more at ease or like a tactic that you use? Because I have a couple that are coming to mind right now, like to
Oh,
get,
I have a new one lately
okay.
that I'm doing for people that I might struggle with getting expression that's in between flat and smiling.
Okay.
Which is just, I call it like a serene face. So I'm like, just picture like serenity. Like, what does that look like for you? And I'm like, okay, so in the shoot, I'm now like, when I kind of need that from you and I need that expression, I'm just going to be like, ah. So I did that on a couple shoots recently. It worked really well. Is I'm just like, ah, give me that serene face. And
Oh, nice.
so that's working it in there a little bit rather than just kind of the smiling, not smiling, smiling, not smiling. And there's got to be like this in between thing that isn't, I'm cheesy and I'm laughing
Yeah.
all the time, because
Yeah.
although that's fun, it's not right for every business.
Yeah, I use that one on my video shoots all the time. Where if someone is like really getting in their head about a take or whatever, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, take a deep breath. I'm here until we're done. So like, you can relax for a second. Deep breath. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll go back into it.
you're good at that. I've seen you
Yeah.
do that. You're very good at that, and being like, hey, we're here. We can try it
Yeah,
again.
yeah, we can screw it up. I'm not going to use that take. Like, it's all good.
Yeah,
You can do
we
10
can
bad ones.
delete button works really well.
Totally. And yeah, two that like for in terms of actually photo shoots though, two that I used the last time that I was in the studio. One is just like literally if someone's like super stiff, like getting them to like, and I don't know, maybe some people would disagree with this, but literally getting them to like do some jumping jacks or frickin' just like wiggle around, you know? You guys can't see it. Maybe you can hear
Yeah,
that I'm wiggling,
yeah.
but you guys
Yes,
can believe
the
me.
shake it out, the shake
Shake
it
it
out
out.
method. And also
Yeah.
just like when you've been standing for a bit or you're doing a couple takes,
Yeah.
people just naturally sort of stiffen up and kind of get locked in the same thing. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I don't circuit train them for sure, but
Yeah.
but I do. I'm just like, let it out, wiggle it out,
Yeah, you
take a
definitely don't
minute, take a break.
you don't want them getting sweaty, so that's that's really
No,
careful with
and
that.
like
But
recently, I usually have like pretty tight timelines when I shoot with clients.
yeah.
So like I usually, usually we have 2 to 3 hours and we're making like the most of that time. But I had a shoot last week that was, we had an Airbnb booked for the shoot all day,
Mm-hmm.
and we took a pizza break in the middle of it.
Nice.
And my client ordered pizza to the shoot space, and we actually just sat down, chilled, ate some pizza, talked a little bit, and then went back to it, which was
Nice.
really, really nice. So I don't know, maybe I should make some more room for snack breaks.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, if you're doing a long shoot. And then another one that I don't remember where I picked this up, but it just came to me at a shoot recently, was just trying to get like a more expression on their face and just like something interesting to work with. So I just said, pretend you have a secret, like you have a secret in your mind. Imagine that. Now give me a look like I have a secret. And yeah, works really
Oh,
well. Like then you get kind of a mischievous look out of them a little bit or something like that,
yeah.
some personality rather than then they're thinking about that and not thinking about like I don't know, like do I have wrinkles or whatever the fuck? Do I look hungover?
Yes.
Do I look hungover? Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Do I look hungover? Hopefully not. I'm always telling my clients, like, please don't overindulge the night before. Don't do it. Like, for the skin, I think maybe it's a women's thing too. We all just like, I'm always like, drink tons of water. Don't drink the night before.
Yeah, drink after the shoot,
Everyone looks, yeah, everyone looks tired
Yeah.
after a night out.
So for actual types of shots, like let's switch gears, talk about that a little bit. Like, do you actually? I know some photographers like literally plan out specific shots. Like, okay, we're gonna get two that are from the bust up. Like you'll be turned to the side, and then we'll do like two full body ones, and then two where you're sitting on a horse and you've got like flaming bowling pins that you're
I feel like
juggling.
that's like Beyonce's new album cover, like sitting on a horse with
Is it? I don't know. I
like
don't.
I don't know. She was on a horse on one of her album covers. It reminded me of that.
I'm very behind on my pop culture. I'm glad you mentioned Beyonce and not something else like Doja Cat. I don't know what that is. That's just something that I
I
hear
don't
people say in their
I don't
20s.
know what that is. Those
Good,
cool.
yeah.
I'm cool. I'm hit. Yeah, we did.
Rihanna,
So
she's still big, right? I don't know. Fuck.
shout out to the Super Bowl. Yeah, so it's tricky with actually planning out shots. So I try to do a nice blend of planned shots that we have to have, so the need to haves in the shoot, and then just leave room for the magic and creativity to happen with the rest of them. So we talk about our must haves. And I make a full list of that during our planning call. So that could be on the phone. Actually, I'm looking at one right now. I was planning out this morning. So on the phone, writing in their journal. This client particularly loves to read. So she's going to be, I'm a couple books. So we need some reading shots, headshots, sort of waist up. So we do plan that. And then I also, one of the questions I asked during our conversation is, what do you need these shots for, your social or your website? So that's also affecting how I'm shooting, what orientation I'm shooting in. So those qualifying ones too. And then if you want me to like kind of touch on a few other questions that I ask them, seasonality is a good one. So I asked them like, hey, like, do you have seasons in your business? So let's give an example. I just had a shoot with a florist. She has seasons, right? She's got holiday season that she does one type of product for, and then she's got Valentine's Day, right? Which is, totally different type of product. So if there are things that come up seasonally for people, what does that look like? And those are shots that we should make sure we have in there, because I want longevity for my clients with their galleries. I don't want them to just last them, 2 months, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
I like to look a little bit ahead for them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Any other questions that you'll usually ask ahead of time?
If they've had shots before, so sometimes I have clients that come to me that have had a few photo shoots, so they're veterans, like they know what they're doing. I usually ask them, what did you like about your images that you previously had? I don't
Sweet.
ask, what didn't you like? I do not ask that, because we don't talk badly about other photographers' work. But I say, what did you really like, and what did you end up using the most of?
Nice.
What were your what were your go-tos? And then what were the gaps? So what was missing in those for you? So that's a good one in helping us get ideas and inspiration for that shot list.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a
Oh,
lot.
and
Like it's good to get into their head as well, because I don't know, the longer that I've been doing this show, like I've interviewed a bunch of photographers. We're on episode 90 now, so I don't know, close to whatever, probably interviewed like 50 photographers on here.
wow.
And like we all, regardless of if we're moms or if we're scientists or whatever the hell, I find that like a lot of us think the same way and have like the same like obsessions and stuff like that when it comes to photography. And some things that like you're really worried about, that like you're going to spend a lot of time on, isn't necessarily what your client like even cares about, right? So yeah, that's an
Yeah.
important point. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I like the planning part of it. It helps me put it all together. I'm usually pretty inspired after the call too, to just like throw my ideas together right away. I don't really like to leave it and let it sit. I usually like hop on Pinterest right away and start pulling some ideas based off
Oh,
of
nice.
their questions. Yeah, while it's fresh in my mind. And not surprisingly, I'm a visual person.
Yeah. Makes a lot of
So
sense. Yeah.
representing that visually is always key for me.
For sure, for sure. And getting an idea of like what the location is and like what the backdrop's going to be, helping people plan their wardrobe. Like, do you ask kind of questions around that? Like, what do you want for
I
the
do.
wardrobe and shit? Yeah.
I do. So I don't like to require people to spend a lot of money or have to hire a stylist. Those are always
Yeah.
options.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, hey, if you want to go that route, I have people I can recommend, so that takes that out of your to-do list completely, and it's a no-brainer
Nice.
for you. But if they're not doing that, I usually guide them. I actually do have an inspiration board that I'll send them, just sort of like, hey, here's some ideas if you're really lacking on ideas. I usually tell them to pull together for my typical branding shoot sort of 3 to 4 looks to bring with them. So that includes full looks. So including shoes, is what I typically say, because that's one that people often forget. Including shoes, including nude undergarments, right? If they need that to match appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never tell somebody what to wear, but I will tell them that whatever you wear should be comfortable. Like, please don't bring that dress that you haven't worn in a few years, that you don't really feel great in, but
Oh,
it might be okay for the shoot. And I love a good neutral. That's just me.
mm-hmm.
I love solid colors and neutrals, because I just think they'll last my clients longer. They have, more areas they can be butt up against if you're wearing sort of a cream tone as opposed to a crazy bright pattern. But that's just my preference for aesthetic. I'll go wild if people want me to.
Yeah, for sure. And understanding that thing of like, it's possible to blend into the background too much as well, right? Like you might be tempted to say, "Oh, it's like a beige background, so I'll wear beige," and then you kind of don't see them at all. You know
It's
what I
just a
mean?
beige
Yeah.
mess at that point.
Though surprisingly, I have found that like you can pull off like it does take a certain amount of like thought and like even experimentation and stuff to get the look right. But you can do a black on black or a white on white, right? Like these are things that
You
are possible.
can.
Yeah.
You can. I've taken some classes and workshops where they use, a very deep black drop, black, say that 8 times fast.
We
A
don't edit
black
this
backdrop.
podcast, so that's all staying in.
Great. Yeah, and it's not my style. I think it's just not what I'm drawn to, but I think it's really cool. I think
Yeah.
it's very cool to use strobes to create like a super deep dark background look and then have that person just popping out. I mean, that was a very popular headshot style for a while too.
For
Remember?
sure. Yeah.
Like was that, black with a black blazer and
Mm-hmm.
then, that face really popped.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
can totally work. I've seen you pull off the like white on white or like really kind of that bright colors, or well, not
Love
bright
it.
colors necessarily, but just like bright tones and shit is really your thing,
I
right?
wonder if I'll get sick of it, but I haven't yet.
Yeah,
I know
that's good.
photographers tend to go through sort of, evolutionary changes with their
Yeah,
styles and morph a little bit, but I still tend to be drawn for that, and it still works really well for
yeah,
social.
yeah. No,
So
I envy people who can do the same thing like over and over again. I have way too much attention deficit. I like to make things really like difficult for myself, so I have
you like a
to. Yeah,
challenge?
very
Like
much
during
so.
the shoot? You like to challenge yourself during a shoot?
Definitely, yeah. Even during a shoot, for sure. Sometimes I'll even be like open to like, okay, let's get away. Even in the studio, I'll be like, let's get away from the backdrop, try some other shit, or friggin' crawl on the ground, do whatever.
Yes, I definitely exercise that with
Yeah,
framing for
yeah.
sure and posing for sure.
Hmm.
I don't experiment too much with editing
Yeah.
style for me.
Hmm.
But each person I meet is so different. They're all like they're my muse when they're
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
So I feel like it doesn't get repetitive for me because
That's good.
everybody
Yeah.
is so different. But yeah, I do like to just where I have my like messing around time is with equipment. That's when I like to just play around and meet some photographer friends, book a studio and just
Yeah.
like I don't know, play around with lights. Like, let's try this stuff you can't do when you're with a paying client all the time.
For sure, for sure. Do you
Yeah.
prefer like like actual studio photography, or do you prefer like going outdoors, or like just whatever kind of guerrilla shooting around? Like, what do you actually prefer?
So usually for my planned branded shoots, like we do have a studio booked,
Yeah,
but I always like to mix in some outdoor if I can,
yeah.
if our time line allows it. I always say to them, even if it's 30 minutes at the end, that we can do some shots outside. I think it's necessary. And I think it's good for them for variety's sake too. Like
Hmm.
I'll often
Totally.
have, there's been many a shoot where I'm just like, stay in your last look. Let's throw our stuff in our cars because our studio time is over.
Yeah.
And let's like head into that alleyway.
Yeah.
Come with me into this alleyway.
Oh, you
um,
can always trust a photographer in an alleyway.
yeah, in the
That's what I
city. Come
say.
in this alleyway. So yeah, I do like to mix it up. And for entrepreneurs too, I think that also shows off some personality as well, is those
Totally.
little hobbies, things they like to do. Like I've had some that love, like we've done a couple shots in the coffee shop and because they work out of a coffee shop every day. So let's make that happen. So yeah, I try to vary up the locations, but studios are so great and we're so lucky
Yeah.
to live close to so many awesome ones and they're
Yeah.
well run, it makes
Yeah.
our lives pretty easy.
I'm getting a little bit addicted to the studio stuff, I have to admit, especially when you go in there and they already have like the lights and things and you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is my playground. Like this is amazing." To
You
use
need
all the
that
stuff.
time.
Yeah.
We
Totally.
we all need that time and I sometimes practice what I preach and set time aside to be creative and
Hmm.
rent some equipment. And then other times I completely get bogged down and I forget how much I need that for my creative muscle. And I think it's fun just to play around with gear too, especially other people's gear. We can all, hey,
Yeah.
grab, swap my camera for your camera, and let's mess around. I grab a Canon every now and then and see if I know how to use the buttons.
Yeah, like I said, it's all like I am often surprised how easily I can switch between like camera systems and stuff these days and like just
Ooh,
make it work and be like, okay, how do I friggin' figure this out? Like you can if you don't know what you're doing, you can YouTube that stuff so fast, right? Like
oh,
even
I've done
I
that.
I've even like turned off my touchscreen. Like, sad to admit, like when I first got my new camera, my what camera do I have? The
Sony
A7 IV,
FX
A7
A7
IV.
IV. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like turned off the touchscreen and then I was like embarrassingly like I don't know how to turn this back on. It had to be like
Oh,
it was at a concert. I'm like I'm gonna go to the bathroom and YouTube this. But you can
like
always do
that.
that. There's no shame in that, you know?
Sony's are
It's all
very,
good.
in your defense. In
In
your
my
defense, the
defense.
Sony menu
Yeah.
is notoriously um
Well,
in depth, but also a little bit
well,
complicated.
if you're going to defend me in my intelligence, you can come on the show anytime.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, for
Sony's
sure.
hard
Yeah.
sometimes, but
Sometimes. For yeah, there's stuff like related to planning and stuff like that. Like, this is a big thing that came up. Like now that I'm starting to do more studio photography, uh, hair and makeup, right? Like, I'm so worried about a million other things. Where's the lights? How do I use these lights? How does it sync with the camera? Do this hot shoe thing, that this other bullshit. Oh, where am I placing the lights? Like, are the settings right? I'm on F4? Is the background blurred out too much? Is it enough? And then I'm looking through the photos later, and I'm like, man, there's a couple strands of hair here, and a little, bit of sweatiness here that we could have dealt with. Like,
yeah,
do you like have a hair and makeup person that you use, or do
I
you usually
do.
you do? Okay,
I
awesome.
do. I
Yeah.
have a go-to. Shout out to Victoria. Yeah, we have a great relationship. It's awesome to find someone that you on the hair and makeup side. I highly recommend reach out, create a network of makeup artists, work with a couple. I kind of have to just jump right in and find someone that you work well with and keep that person and protect them at all costs. Like that relationship is really, really important for me. And having that go-to person
Are there like
would
a
just
lot
be
of
like,
are there a lot of threats that are coming after your makeup person? Do
you never know.
you
Like
have to
this is
protect
like
them?
I'm a mom too. So this is like finding like a good babysitter, right? Like you
Okay.
don't give that up for anybody because it could threaten your nights out if you start sharing them. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. I want her to have all the success. But yeah, so I found someone that's really, really great that I
Awesome.
completely trust, that my clients are always happy with, like always knocks it out of the park. They always love it. That
Yeah.
makes me look good, right? That's a
Mhm.
win-win.
Mhm.
And she's amazing. And it's warm-up time for them too. So if they do hair and makeup, we book that hour before the shoot to do that.
Yep.
And then we chat, right? Like we all have our coffees, we're talking. So we're warming up and then also helps us ease into that shoot time. We're just
Yeah.
ready to go. But with makeup, skin is the most important piece of that.
Mhm.
Healthy looking skin. That doesn't mean perfect skin. That
Mhm.
means healthy looking skin. And going a little heavier. I talk about this a lot with my clients that are doing their own makeup. I say
Mhm.
go heavier. I know it's gonna feel like a lot for you when you're driving in the car and you're looking in your rearview mirror. You're gonna feel like you're going out to a club and it's 10 a.m.
Yeah.
But but it looks great on camera. And because I edit bright and I use strobes, that it's even more necessary to pop that on for them.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
I tell them to bring some extras with them for some touch-ups. But makeup artists are great. They also check in between shots. So they'll stay if you require them to, they'll stay and then they'll do some touch-ups, right? So
Yeah.
as you have a wardrobe change and things get a little bit messy, they're like, hold on, come right back in, touch up your client, and then you're good to go. So it's just they just make things easier.
Totally. Yeah. On my last studio shoot there, like one of the clients did bring someone to do their hair and makeup, and it was very helpful, especially with what you're saying between shots or between wardrobe changes and stuff like that. Like maybe the hair looked great at the beginning, and again, like your attention is limited. Like you have to be honest with yourself. There's little things that you're gonna friggin' miss. Like you're just going to. It's reality, and yeah, having a second person there to be like, oh, this strand of hair, oh, like there's a little bunched up hair here,
You
or
know what
whatever.
it
Like the
is for
makeup's a little
me?
messed up. Yeah.
It's glasses, which you wear.
Oh
Like you wear
yeah.
glasses all the time.
I'm sorry.
Glasses, you should be. It's glasses, and that
Yeah.
it's actually a question I ask. Speaking of planning, it's
Yeah.
actually a question I ask when I'm planning, which is like, do you wear glasses? They're like, I can, and then I have other clients that are like, oh, not a big deal, I can take them off, and other
Yeah.
clients that are like, no, this is how people see me, and they would never see me without my glasses on.
Yeah.
These are a must. So
Yeah.
again, I'm planning that because I've made that mistake more times than want to admit to.
Mm-hmm.
Is not setting up my lighting correctly, and then being so focused on the client and posing and being comfortable that I don't check that glasses glare. And
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, it's difficult to work around. That is one thing that is really tough. If you got a little bit in there, I mean, it is kind of
it's
forgivable. People will forgive you, but yeah, yeah.
yeah. How have we not like how have we not created strobes at like anti-glare strobes or something? I don't know.
I don't
Maybe we
know.
gotta patent that, come up with
Yeah,
that product.
maybe, I don't know, but yeah,
Oh,
I totally get what you're saying. Like, I'm definitely one of those glasses people who's like, no, don't take my glasses away from me. Like, I
right.
don't wear contacts or anything. Like, I do kind of think it's like, I don't know, part of my look and personality. People think I'm smart
Mhm.
when I wear glasses. They don't question it.
You
They're
are
just like,
smart.
oh,
You're
thanks.
smart. Wait, I think you're. No, I
Like
thought you were
this,
smarter. Maybe it was just the glasses.
it was just the glasses. I'm actually an idiot.
Glasses. Damn
Totally tricked
it,
you.
those
Yeah.
glasses. But yeah, those are like those little questions that I probably didn't ask when my first couple of years of planning shoots, and now I ask because I got to go. Dana,
Totally.
remember the glasses.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Some of those things are trial and error, but that's what we try to help people with on this podcast, Like
exactly.
we try to make it with your time and not just like have a bunch of bullshit on here. Like actually have stuff that's going
Clean
to
your
help you.
glasses.
Yeah.
Clean your
Clean your
glasses.
glasses too.
Clean your
Yeah.
glasses. Do a quick rub, and then put them on, and then angle them a little bit, and then you should be okay. That's what I
Definitely,
did now.
definitely. So
Yeah.
I know that you like to keep everything like good and positive. You don't like to trash other photographers and their work. This is a segment called "Trashing Other Photographers and Their Work." No, I'm just kidding. Um,
Imagine
uh,
you're like three worst photographers in Toronto. Go.
on the three worst photographers that live on Dana's block are her neighbors.
You'll
Yeah.
never work in this town again.
No.
Never.
No, I do want to talk a little bit around, like mistakes and stuff like that, like mistakes to avoid in the planning process. Like maybe these are kind of mistakes that you made earlier on in your career. Maybe they're mistakes that you've seen other people make. Yeah, like what are some mistakes to avoid as you're planning? I guess I can go first. I can give you the first one here
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
you mentioned something earlier that I really liked actually at the very beginning of the show where you said like I'd rather do the in-person call and take that like personal approach rather than sending someone like a spreadsheet or whatever the hell to fill out, right? Like I think that would be probably a big first mistake to talk about. Like maybe some people would be totally cool with that, like maybe their brain totally works that way, but to me I don't think that's a good approach, like having it so standardized where you're literally sending them a document to fill out. I don't know, I think that again that might work for some people, but in a lot of cases I think that personal touch is better, right? Especially with something as personal as photography, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, a mistake. Okay. All right. I've got one. I've got a planning mistake that I've made or been sucked into making.
Hmm.
Trying to emulate something or a shoot that someone else has seen. So
Cool.
in the past, I've had clients come to me that are like, I love this one comes up a lot, Jenna Kutcher, right? Super popular photographer, like love Jenna Kutcher. She's great. But people being like, I want my shoot to be like this.
Ashton
And
Kutcher's sister, right?
no,
No, I'm kidding.
you're really not with
Stupid joke.
it. You really need to get but yeah, and then trying, and then, sometimes they even would send really like kind of like a prescription to me, a
Mm.
directive to me. I want to have this shot of me leaning, holding a laptop with a coffee in the other hand. I want to look exactly, I want this exact shot.
We need a
And
baby for this, so you need to get a
get a
baby.
baby, put a
Yeah.
baby on your hip. And just sort of being a pleaser and wanting to make my clients happy. I'd be like, absolutely, we can do that shot. Yes. And now I'm more like, hey, it's great to take inspiration and be inspired by her or others, whoever that might be, but you're not that person, and you're creating your own brand. So we can definitely look to that to see what type of feeling it's bringing up. Is it that it's professional, fun, um, whatever it might be, but let's keep this about you and your uniqueness and your unique business. So
Mm.
that's definitely a mistake before, where we would try to maybe emulate someone that we're seeing. And then what happens with that is you go on Instagram or someone's website, and every single person has the exact same shot of them wearing a fedora and like giving the peace sign with a coffee cup in the other hand. So
Mm-hmm.
I started getting really bummed out, and I was like, what is it? And I was like, it's because like I'm being asked to copy stuff. Like, not obviously not copying it like in a flattering way, but I didn't like that anymore. So that's a mistake I made that I moved away from.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Like everyone's going to have their inspirations, and I think it's totally cool for someone to come into a shoot and give you samples of stuff that they like. Hell yeah. Like I have absolutely no problem with that. But also understand that like you have your own style and your own approach, and yeah, you're not going to there's nothing very like it's not very like stimulating or fulfilling to just like copy someone else's work. And yeah, like what is really the point of that? Like someone else already did it, Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that comes from a place for people in general of
Yeah,
playing into a trend, right? We
totally.
see
Yeah.
trends nonstop now with social media. And so
Yeah.
people just being like, oh, this is on trend. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I get it. I get where it comes from, because you like what you see. You're relating to it. It's
Mm-hmm.
resonating with you. And you're like, I want to do that too, because that looks like a club I want to be in. um, but taking that control back as a photographer and saying, you're trusting me to bring this forward for you. So let me do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's always better to have your own unique voice, right? And rather than trying to copy other people. I really like that one. I've got one more here, and then we'll let Dana get back to her busy life. You got some photos to edit, some kids to I don't know feed. I don't know what you do with kids. I don't have
But
any.
can
Do
I
you
get
feed
the
them?
kids to edit? That's the question,
I don't know. That's totally up to
right?
you and the
If
labor laws.
only there was a way to do both.
If they can add like a photo, if Lightroom can get together with Minecraft
Oh,
and do like yeah,
I'd be a millionaire.
I can get my nephews going on that shit.
Oh my gosh. Minecraft is the bane of my existence right
Is it?
now. I can't
Yeah.
hear about it anymore. No, I have a
Wow.
9-year-old son. So
Hmm.
yeah, no, did you know? And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I didn't know. And I still don't know.
Did you
I'm
know?
crazy,
Well,
crazy about him,
that's
but not
really
crazy about that.
really disappointing because I was gonna invite you next week onto my Minecraft podcast, but guess I'll have
You
to.
do not have a
No, I
Minecraft,
don't know.
please. I know there's a lot of people that are
Yeah,
adults that are really into it. I don't
totally.
know any personally, but I
Yeah,
can see that
yeah,
community. But you know what? If there's something for them to be really into, it's
yeah.
not so bad that it's Minecraft. I'll take
Definitely,
it.
definitely.
I'll take it.
Okay, here's my last mistake. You ready for it?
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one. Not charging enough money for your photo shoots.
I mean,
Yeah, it
mic
might
drop right there.
that take this mic
Take it. Take the
and I'm going to literally drop it really gently. There you
mic. Drop it,
go.
but not so much that I have to buy a new one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't want to have to do that. Although I
I
do love
mean,
I'd love any excuse to buy gear, so I don't know, but that's not a very good one. Yeah, like
Yeah.
there might be that temptation to, say, oh, I'm going to give a deal here. And maybe there's even a fear that if someone says, oh, what does it cost for this shoot? And if you say too much money, that you're going to lose the shoot, right? They're going to say, oh, I'll get someone cheaper.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just find that like you got to be okay with that. Like if someone does do that, you kind of have to let that roll off your back and be like, well, then I guess that shoot wasn't meant for me, because you really have to charge enough that you can produce the thing that you're going to be proud of making, right? Like, and that's what people really have to understand. Like when you hire a photographer, there's this whole thing of like, oh, well, like, why the hell am I going to pay you so much? I could do it on my own cell phone or whatever. Or, all you do is push a button, which like, we know is like hilariously untrue. And, like if it was only pushing a button, there's no way I could make 90 episodes of a podcast about it. But yeah, on this episode, we're talking about pushing buttons. Where are the buttons? How do you push them?
I'm good at pushing buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's very interesting. I was somewhere a while back and I was speaking with a photographer who was just starting out, and I said, oh, I'm doing this session. She's like, if you don't mind, like, what are you charging for this session? And I told her, and she was like, oh my gosh, people pay that. That was her reply. And she's like, I'm not trying to be offensive. And I was like, no, none taken. That's great. But I was like, yeah, they do pay that. It is possible, because at least in my, like, speaking completely to brand photography right now, these images are making people money, right?
Yep.
You take these shots, you put them on your website. Your website looks great. You make money. You, you put this in your buyer's guide, and you've got really professional looking material. That's going to drive more clients to come to you. That's going to make you look more professional. Yep. So that investment, if we're talking one shoot a year, that's just one of most of my clients do, then that investment is well worth it for them for it to pay for it to make sense. And here's the thing: when I used to undercharge, I had a ton of clients. I was really popular, and now I know why. I was really popular, but I would end up not feeling good at the end of it. And it wasn't because, oh, I didn't make enough money on this. It was because it didn't feel like I got enough value from my time. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that my clients were bad. It doesn't mean anything like that. I would just feel internally, so there's a gut feeling like, oh, that didn't feel valuable to me for my time and the time that it took. So I just, I use the method of incrementally increasing my pricing. That's, some people say, start where you intend to finish. I didn't end up doing that. I didn't have any mentors then. So I basically, every time I got busy, I raised my prices, and I just kept going till I felt like it was at a sweet spot, a spot that people were comfortable with. And it's never been a problem anymore, which is kind of nice. Nobody really questions that. I don't know if people would say, hey, sorry, you're too expensive. People are so tactful now that they're like, thank you.
Not in Canada,
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I'll get back to you. And then they don't.
I would just prefer they said that shit to my face, but you know what? Whatever. It's all good.
Yeah, our budget won't allow for this right now.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, like you just want to make something that you feel good about, something that you think is going to, be valuable to that client. And yeah, like you're adding to their personal brand. You're even like adding to, like, in a very honest way, like adding to the way that they perceive themselves. Like if someone sees a beautiful photo of themselves, it can like literally like raise their self-confidence or what they think about themselves, and of course make them money, but not just that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll get out of here. Let's go make some money.
I could talk about this stuff forever. So
well, we'll have you back.
Feel free.
We'll have you back on the show.
Feel free to hit me back up for your 190th episode then.
190th special guest. Yeah. We'll
I'll come back for 190. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. Deal.
It's a date. I just booked myself in.
Yeah.
You didn't even ask.
And we'll be talking about Minecraft. Photo
by
mode.
That point,
Minecraft
by
photo
that
mode.
point, I'll have found a way.
Yes, we will. We will have petitioned Adobe
and Minecraft to make a digital software baby.
Totally. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, it's
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. I had a good time.
No worries. It was super fun. Something else that's fun is finding you on the internet, which is where you plug the shit that you have on the internet.
I'm on the internet a lot.
Rad. Good job.
And I love random messages from people I don't know.
Sweet.
So you can find me on the internet and do just that. I love it. You don't even have to say hi. You just start in and be like, what's your favorite cheese? And I will go into it. It's Brie, by the way.
Yeah.
But you can find me at symbol 3 Crowns Branding on Instagram. And my website is threecrownstudio.com.
Yeah. Sweet.
Those are my handles.
Yeah. You know what the most metal cheese is?
What?
Brie.
Oh
Anyways.
my God. He did it. He did it. That was so cheesy.
Wow. Okay.
Whoa.
Whoa. These jokes are good. These are too good for a photography podcast.
Leave on a high note.
Yeah. All right. If you guys want to find this podcast other places on the internet, photo_friends_pod on Instagram. Dana will send me some photos and I'll put them up there, and you guys can see some of her nice photos that she planned to do. We have a Patreon. You guys can check that out. You can support the podcast there. Probably the best way for you to support the podcast and help out yourself is by clicking that CloudSpot link. You're going to get yourself 50% off, and it helps the podcast, makes CloudSpot happy. They message us. They say, Jared, you're the best. Makes me feel good. You can rate us on Apple Podcasts. You can recommend us to your friends, because I know that when you're a photographer, you have other friends who are photographers, because after a while, those are the only people who understand what the hell you're talking about. And we always end the show with something random. Dana, we're going to get movie recommendations. You have to have watched it recently. A movie recommendation for the people out there. I know you have kids, so it'll probably be some kids movie. That's fine.
You know what? It's not actually.
Okay,
the
fine.
other night I went off brand for myself, and I watched the new Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Okay.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice, yeah.
Loved it. It was just, usually I'm a documentary drama type watcher, and I thought, you know what, let's try something new, and I really liked it.
Yeah, and you've of course seen every other Marvel film and TV series, right? Loki.
I've seen
fan.
Yes,
Seriously?
I've
Wow.
seen a bit. Yeah, I've seen a bit
Jeez.
of Mandalorian. Yeah, I've got a comic book collector spouse, so
Okay.
I have seen. I'm not diehard, but I have seen enough to be able to, be semi-fluent.
You're more up to date with all that stuff than me right now. I'm gonna say I thought about recommending a film that I watched last night, Horns. So I'll say that. I'm gonna give you guys two. Horns is a pretty interesting movie. Old Daniel Radcliffe is in there. He's making weird movies now, and I love it. And other than that one, though, I think this guy was in Harry Potter too. Robert Pattinson, wasn't he in Harry Potter? Yeah.
He was, yeah.
So this is a real Harry
he
Potter.
He died. Yeah, he died in Harry Potter, right?
I was worried he actually died. It's like, shit.
No, he's still alive.
Okay, good. Good Time, directed by the Safdie brothers. They also made Uncut Gems. This is like the film that they made before that. Super interesting movie, very highly stressful. So check it out if you want to feel stressed.
Adding that to my list. Thank you.